Good morning, students. Today we will be dealing with American literature, and in this we will study about civil disobedience movement. Civil disobedience movement was written by Henry David Thoreau, and he was born in 1817 and he died in 1862. He was a transcendentalist. Now, what is transcendentalist? It was a movement, it was a romantic movement at that time in USA, and he was disciple and friend of Ralph Waldo Emerson, who himself was a transcendentalist. In his lifetime, he worked for the abolition of slavery. He was philosopher, environmentalist, poet, and essayist. So, we will enjoy his civil disobedience movement. Civil disobedience, as we know, we are acquainted with the name, that it was a movement, and it was an essay, we can say, and Gandhiji was inspired by the essay of Thoreau, and he implemented here it in India as Savinay Avagya Andolan or civil disobedience movement in 1947. Thoreau's work. When we talk about Thoreau's work, we will say that his most famous work was Walden. It was first published in 1854 and documents his experiments of living in solitude at Walden, near Walden Pond in Massachusetts from 1845 to 47. An experiment in individualism and self-reliance. 1849, an essay, Civil Disobedience, related to but not exclusively non-violent resistance to governments. So Walden was a self-reliance towards nature, and civil disobedience is self-reliance towards his conscience. His philosophy and style. His writing style interweaves close observation of nature, personal experience, pointed rhetoric, symbolic meanings, and historical lore, while displaying a poetic sensibility and philosophical austerity. So, whenever he wrote an essay, poem, or anything, he took nature into it, and whatever he observed, he incorporated into his writing, and he was rhetoric, and sometimes he was sarcastic and ironic. He used to have symbols in his writing, and he used to have examples from history, and it was very attractive. Now, context transcendentalism, which is incorporated in civil disobedience movement, we will talk about it. So it is idealistic stance against materialism, tradition, conservatism, and orthodoxy of politics, as well as Unitarian Church. It emphasized the importance of the individual and his need to transcend ordinary life and invest life with a spiritual worth. It believed that truth and the meaning lie within the human soul or conscience, and the individual should turn inward in solitude and practice self-reliance. So it is based on transcendentalism, means you should go inward without relying on outward. You should have your belief in your spirit. You should have your belief in your conscience, and he was totally against any orthodox people and orthodox practices of the church, and conservative people like that. Now, civil disobedience was based on the context abolitionism. There were widespread protests against slavery and slave laws at this time in New England, centered in Concord, Massachusetts. After this essay was published, came a controversial fugitive slave law in 1850, which helped slave owners and derived slaves the right to trial, supported by politicians like Daniel Webster. American Anti-Slavery Society in Philadelphia, established in 1833, promoted non-violent resistance. Thoreau was critical of some of the indirect modes of resistance that they advocated. So he was against slavery. Throughout his life, he worked for the abolition of slavery, and though the abolition came after his death, but he struggled throughout the life for it. Now, Mexican American War. The USA under the President James K. Polk started a war on Mexico in 1846, seized land from Mexico in 1848 with the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. This land is known as Mexican Cession and formed the southwestern American states like Texas, Nevada, New Mexico, Utah, Arizona, California, and parts of Colorado. Many Americans felt that it was their manifest destiny to seize that land. Almost double the size of the United States, especially the agrarian South, leading to imbalance between the slave states and the free states. So America seized the land from Mexico, and it was double the length, and it was people says that it was their destiny to have that land, and the people there in Mexico were treated as slaves. So he struggled for that. He struggled for abolition of slavery, and he was totally against the unjust laws and unjust behavior of the government. Civil disobedience. Whole title Resistance to Civil Government, derived from a series of lectures entitled The Rights and the Duties of the Individual and in Relation to Government, delivered in Concord Lyceum in 1848, shows his belief in the individual's right to self-determination and deeply anti-authoritarian perspective. The term civil disobedience was coined by Thoreau to describe his refusal to pay the state poll tax implemented by the American government, to prosecute a war in Mexico, and to enforce the fugitive state law. The practice of civil disobedience as old as Socrates. What are the key arguments? Individuals should not permit government to overrule or manipulate their consciences, and that they have a duty to avoid allowing such acquaintances to enable the government to make them agents of injustice. Means people go against their own wish, against their own conscience, and obey the government and pay taxes, and in this way they become a part of the unjust rule and defy the things. Do we need a government at all? He says, opens with the sentence, I heartily accept the motto that government is best which governs least, and I should like to see it acted upon to more readily and systematically. He also believes that government is best which governs not at all. When men are prepared for it, that will be the kind of government which they will have. He speaks in support of government that does not burst in on man's life. So he is of the opinion that he says that government is best which governs not at all. Means we simply say that this government is good, that government is good, but when the government comes into practice, he follows the same policies, and the hopes our hopes are shattered. So he says that the imaginary government is the best, and when the government comes into existence, they shatter the hope of the common people. The very idea of democracy is flawed. In a democracy, we conduct an election, and the choice of the majority rules the country for a long time. Thoreau points out that the choice of the majority does not denote the most virtuous or the right. It is only shows the majority is physically the strongest. A government chosen by the physically strongest need not and will not be based on justice. He says that we think that democracy is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So we because a person who became leader after democracy is very strong because he has got the majority of vote. But he says that it is not at all. Strong doesn't means right. If he or she has been elected, that doesn't mean that he is virtuous. So always majority is not always the right. War is against conscience. War is an example of how law leads man to do unjust actions. Soldiers are, as individuals, inclined to peace, but because of their undue respect for law, they take part in war against their will, common sense, and conscience, knowing it is a damnable business. He says that soldiers are a part of the government and they have to act and go into the war because it is their profession, but inside their conscience they themselves do not like war, they themselves do not like slavery, they do not like that sort of action which according to Thoreau is a damnable business. So war is against the conscience of not even the common people but even soldiers. They also do not support the war. His second part of the essay is His second part of the essay is against civil government. Now he says that when the government is acting unjust, then what is our responsibility? How we have to act? What we should do? How a common man should oppose the government? And Gandhi ji followed this in India, and due to his efforts and due to civil disobedience movement, we got our independence and we achieved it without violence. So he showed us the path how to act. Voting is not a solution. Thoreau holds that voting is like gaming, playing with the right and wrong, naturally accompanied by betting. When I cast my vote for the right, I am not virtually concerned that the right should prevail and do nothing to make it prevail. Rather, I am willing to leave it to the majority. A wise man will not leave the right to the mercy of chance and not wish it to prevail through the power of the majority. So, it is our common belief that we think that we have chosen our representative and we have voted, and that's all. We have done our duty. Now, it is the responsibility of the person whom we have chosen to enact and to act against if something is wrong, but it is not like that. It is the responsibility of each and every one. Our responsibility does not shed up only with the voting. America's machine of injustice. He believed that if there is a minor problem that the government creates for its people, like imposing tax on foreign goods, Thoreau wouldn't make a fuss about it. The government is but a machine, and all machines will have such friction. So the thing is that he told that government had become mechanical and it was functioning like a machine, and due to it many friction was produced. So he was saying that even the people were acting as machine without any emotions, without any conscience, without any opposition. So it should not be like that. Things should not be mechanical. It should be spiritual. It should be from the heart, because until and unless we have conscience, we have soul, we have a spirit, we cannot be machine. So how to behave towards American government? The next question we discuss is how to behave towards the American government, and gives a simple answer. I answer that I cannot without disgrace be associated with it. That's because he cannot be an instant recognize that political organization as his government, because it's the slave government, also it supports slavery. Everyone in America recognizes the right to revolution. They actively supported the Revolutionary War of 1775 against the British government. But the same Americans do not recognize the need to revolt against the government that supports slavery. When you personally suffer from tyranny and inefficiency of the government, then you revolt. Why not when the tyranny leads to other people suffering, like the slaves and the Mexicans? He told that American people revolted against British colonial rule, and they revolted for their own independence, and the war of he told about the war of 1775. But he told that the same Americans are enjoying the war against the slavery of the Mexicans, and they are not opposing him. Mexicans are also saying say Why don't you do it? Now he is saying that it is the duty of the common man to oppose the whatever the government is doing. The broadest and the most prevalent error requires the most disinterested virtue to sustain it. Literary paradox. The most common errors are propagated because virtuous people are disinterested in eradicating them. Those who disapprove the government's policies yet yield the allegiance and support of it are actually the most serious obstacles to reform. Instead of obeying unjust laws of the Union and waiting for them to be changed under the initiative of the state, why don't they disobey the laws at once and refuse to pay the taxes, thereby dissolving their union with the state and the union governments? So he says that what is the duty of the common man? They should refuse to pay the tax. He says that the virtuous people, they disagree with the government, but what they do, they pay tax and they are submissive before the policies of the government. So don't be submissive. What is important is conscience. More important than our obligation to abide by the law is our obligation to do what our conscience deems right. An individual's conscience should not be silenced by the opinion of the majority. The problem is not with the law per se. The question is whether man have exercised their conscience in making and enforcing laws. A corporation has no conscience, but a corporation of conscientious man is a corporation with a conscience. Law by itself does not make man just. In fact, blind respect for law has led man to injustice. So he says that we have our own conscience and we can oppose the law and we can oppose such sort of corporation. We don't have to have blind respect for law, and we should not go for injustice. We should have our own say in every part of the life. So there will never be a really free and enlightened state until the state comes to recognize the individual as a higher and independent power from which all its own power and authority are derived and treats him accordingly. Means the government is by the people, so he has to respect the. Today we have seen Thoreau's civil disobedience essay, and it is very important in our life because it paved the way for our salvation. We got our independence because of it. Thank you for watching it.